Yeah. All right, yo, welcome to the class today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to lesson 1 of the set piece with a dash school. The SS. No. That doesn't seem like a good name. Lesson 1. When delivering a ball into the box, you want to head it into the net. Lesson 2. I'm not being funny, bro. I don't need this ish, man. I'm gonna call up the Cougars tonight, bro. And the final lesson. If you want the ball, put your hand up. Flipping heck, man. This fly is jarring. Get out of the way, bro. Hey, yo, the set piece man's got his hand up. He wants it. Yo, hey, so listen, it was a misunderstanding, obviously. Yo guys, it is your boy Niran here, and you are watching FTW. This is of course the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. But what has been kicking off in the world this week? Disgusting, illegal, and most likely on an island. All things that can be used to describe Manchester United's Premier League season, but also things that can describe P. Diddy, who's been diddling far too much in his life, it turns out.
You had a waste of time. Good night.
His court case started this week for some truly horrific and catastrophic crimes, more racketeering than Wimbledon's tennis club. The court case still obviously ongoing, but there's been a bit of a weird scenario developing, and that's been influencers turning up at the trial. Now, the only thing that influencers influence me to want to do is jump off my balcony. There's no need, quite frankly, for James Charles to be there. Unless he's the defender. Now, onto the football, and the season's starting to wind down in certain places. The relegation scrap, for example, in the Prem, already decided. Mikel Arteta's swapped management for mental health watch, and Neymar hasn't got an STI in at least 8 days. Okay, maybe more like 8 minutes. Some of the leagues are already decided, but one that wasn't quite was La Liga. Everything was on the line for Real Madrid. There were just 4 points separating the league's top 2 and El Clasico rivals. Now, it's been a disappointing season for Los Blancos, but one win here could put them within 1 point. Yeah, they lost the game. I can't lie to you.
Bro, look at the wingbacks. Madrid.
Now, let's be honest, we all knew this was going to happen. It's about as surprising as seeing Sean Dyche's new local.
This is Sean Dyche, not a Travolta nonsense and all that.
Real Madrid have quite literally played these lot 5 times this season and have lost every single one of them. This is some fugazi Real Madrid team, the Galacticos.
This football club is finished. Wahali, it is finished.
It's good to see this gang manage to stop Barca scoring their 17th goal of the season versus them. And the thing is, Barca let them take a 2-0 lead. They just set out to score more than everybody else. They even let Mbappe stat pad. The guy scored a hat-trick and still lost the game. He has a record of scoring hat-tricks in important games and still ending up on the losing side. For Kylian, he'd be celebrating scoring a hat-trick before realizing that mathematically he's now going to lose the game. And I'm sure he must have been fuming at his teammates after trying to drag them across the line here. I see what Barca are doing. They're lulling you into a false sense of security, but in this situation, Real Madrid's security is that of JFK's. Why can't I get some dome like that, man? What? Lamine Yamal even had time to put his hand on a Real Madrid defender's shoulder, or should I say Ryan in this case. Yeah, before this game, in the week, a group of French girls actually wanted a group picture being taken and stumbled upon one Lamine Yamal. In his natural habitat, they didn't actually know or realize who he was. So one girl gives the phone over, asks what his name is, and he, not wanting to bring any attention to himself, says that his name is Ryan. In the end, they actually do realize that it is Lamine Yamal and get a picture together. As for Ryan Yamal, he's now got 40 goal contributions this season and brought out the karma celebration against Real Madrid. The guy doesn't understand pressure. He was doing bottle flips before the game started. This is one of the most important games of Barcelona's season. He's 17 and he doesn't care. At the other end of the age scale, though, when Luka Modric was using his water for other means, he was trying to bring out the dark arts, and Real Madrid were trying to do that with this handball in the area that somehow wasn't given as a pen. Genuinely, the reverse angle of this one is even more telling. Not only that, but the VAR officials could be heard saying thank goodness when they saw a handball from Fermin Lopez in the build-up to a disallowed goal. Referees taken home a Real Madrid paycheck, and Real still haven't won the game. Of course, mostly down to Barca's attack. Ferran Torres is a completely different man when he's against the team that's wearing white. This might have been Fernando Torres, mate. Vinny Jr., meanwhile, was trying to flex the 15 Champions Leagues that Real Madrid have won to Barca fans during the game. Meanwhile, Carlo Ancelotti was doing up the wrong ritual. He must have done like an eyebrow Rabona by accident, used the other one, and now they've been remontaded. Meanwhile, Lamine Yamal posted that Ryan had delivered and called for people to go like this post too, after Sergio Ramos and Jude Bellingham were caught liking a post by Alessandro Bastoni that saw Lamine getting dragged about. Yeah, it's a shithousery award for the 17-year-old. And after the game, he even got to meet one of his heroes in Thierry Henry in the tunnel. Now, there's more chance of Thierry Henry growing dreadlocks than Barca losing the league now, but in England, it's actually mathematically wrapped up. So even though Liverpool were facing off against Arsenal in a top 2 clash, the Reds' minds, well, they were elsewhere. Arne Slott's mind, for example, was on a toilet floor in Ocean Ibiza. Yeah, the Liverpool lads, they were on holiday. I can't lie to you. The season hasn't even finished yet. He was looking like a totally different man when the pills set in. He was probably throwing up on Trent 4 minutes before kickoff for this. Phase 2 for the Dutchman. His jaw is swinging. He does not give a fuck, by the way, about the rest of the games this season. We're gonna get battered by Brighton, by the way. He'll be trying to drive down to A23 9.7 times over the legal limit and on bath salts probably as well. Wayne Lineker's gonna be starting on the left-hand side. Andrew Robertson, he'll be in Chalk nightclub by half-time, I'm telling you for a fact. Now, as for the Arsenal game, Liverpool scored twice in 2 minutes to take a first-half lead, only for Arsenal to fight back and earn a point at Anfield. I saw a couple of Arsenal fans giving it large on the timeline after the draw. Let's be honest, lads, these were the scenes in the dressing room for Liverpool at half-time. Phase 1 for Mikel Arteta was giving a guard of honour. Phase 7 is still giving a guard of honour. At least he's consistent with those. So Miles Lewis-Skelly was getting a little bit of abuse after not clapping, apparently. In actuality, he did. You just couldn't see it picked up in the original video. Either way, Liverpool fans were ripping into Arteta and Arsenal, saying that the Spaniard was always the bridesmaid and never the bride, and brought an Odegaard camera banner as well. Yeah, it's a shithousery award for the Reds. Out on the pitch, and the players were getting body slammed as well. No, genuinely, Bukayo Saka physically got choked out by Andrew Robertson here. The next challenge was even worse, I'm not gonna lie to you. What are we even doing here, man? How's this not even a foul? Liverpool fans, though, were not too content, I'm not gonna lie to you. Not down to the performance, obviously. Not down to the fact we were drawing with Arsenal, but more to the inclusion of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who came on late in the game to replace Connor Bradley. Liverpool fans, we were voicing our displeasure, of course, after Trent Alexander-Arnold officially confirmed he'd be leaving the club at the end of the season. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, lads, okay? This might be controversial. I don't know. I don't think we should be booing Trent Alexander-Arnold. I get the contempt. I've spoke about it last week. I was talking about why, you know, it's very valid, I think, for us to be disappointed with the way Trent Alexander-Arnold has dealt with the situation. I don't think we should necessarily be cheering Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's not our player anymore. I'd basically be cheering a Real Madrid player. That doesn't feel like it makes sense to me, especially now that the title isn't on the line. We don't need to be winning games. But I do think booing is just a bit over the top. Like, he has done a lot for the club. A lot of the things that we've achieved as a football club, a lot of the moments of happiness that we've had are in part, at least, down to him. So we should still, I think, personally, that's just my opinion, still show him the respect that he deserves based on what he's achieved at the club up to this point, even if we don't agree with the way that he's leaving. It's not like he's going to Manchester United, lads. This week also saw Arsenal reach an agreement to sign defensive midfielder Martin Zubimendi, who was crucial coming off the bench in the Euro 2024 final and who we wanted last summer. This is actually a personal transfer.
I thought, you fucker. You clever fucker.
Though I can't lie, I feel like Mikel Arteta might have missed the mark again, bringing in yet another defensive midfielder. Look, Mikel, I'm not gonna lie to you, mate. I feel like, I'll be honest, you know, we're good at the back. We just don't seem to score enough goals. Marino. I mean, you've played him up front, but he's not actually a striker, Mikel. So I think, again, really important if we do bring in a Zubimendi. Mikel, please, I'm begging you, we can't do Gabriel Jesus. Next up, though, now, Manchester United versus West Ham United in a game that I was half expecting both teams to lose. But it was Manchester who showed they were less united, losing to West Ham in yet another dismal Premier League display.
You're having a laugh!
If we're being honest, United fans at this point are just happy that there's no relegations and no deaths or terrorist incidents at games. One incident of terrorism, maybe Manuel Ugarte giving the ball away in the middle of the park and then just deciding to collapse on the floor for West Ham's second goal. He was blowing the referee's whistle prematurely just because he couldn't be bothered to play anymore. It's actually pathetic. They've fully just given up on the league season. You've got Bayindir celebrating in United's net when United concede. In his mind, yeah, if they keep conceding and he gets sold for being bad, he doesn't have to play with any of these losers anymore. So he actually wants them to lose games. Now, there's also the news that Ruben Amorim decided to pay for 30 staff members to bring their families to the Europa League final. The likes of coaches, physios, etc. that were told that they'd have to pay for their own family's tickets. Sir Jim Ratcliffe cutting them costs again.
This is what he does!
I want so badly for Jim Ratcliffe to be no more, give that money to people in need. I mean, what is he even expecting Ruben Amorim to do? What, just not bring any coaching staff at all? The Portuguese gaffer trying to unbreak an ankle on his own when his physio's watching on TV instead. Ruben trying to chat to his coach that he'd actually left at the airport in the 57th minute. Let's be honest, Jim Ratcliffe probably turning up in the 74th minute of the game because he booked a cheap economy flight and it's been delayed. Lenny Euro's going to be walking home from the final because Jim only bought him a single ticket to Bilbao and not a return. The things this man would do to save a couple of pounds is crazy. He must have been absolutely disgusted finding out how much it was going to cost to actually send his team on a plane to the final.
Fuck off. $2.5 grand.
We should actually swap the Europa League and Conference League finals, by the way. Betis and Chelsea deserve it more. And United, upon winning the Europa League, if they were to, have planned to set up a barbecue for their staff instead of an open-top bus tour. Look, I get they've had a bad season, alright, but corn on the cob for a Europa League trophy feels a little bit harsh. Luke Shaw's getting his order in early.
2 plain chow meins, a shredded chicken chow mein, a Singapore rice noodle, an egg fried rice, a boiled rice, a special fried rice.
He'll be injuring himself in training, by the way, so he can get to the barbecue before anybody else. Casemiro will be disgusted when he gets there and realises that all Sir Jim's bought is 3 sausages, a plank of wood and a lighter. And speaking of the Brazilian defensive midfielder, he's actually in for a wage rise due to a clause in his contract if Manchester United win the Europa League. He'd be on 400k a week, but it's Ethel in the club shop who's gotta get sacked. This man's gonna put in a generational performance. I hope you guys understand that. Jim, meanwhile, will be absolutely delighted if United lose, knowing he hasn't got to pay Casemiro 20 grand extra a week. Speaking of Manchester, though, and a group of Liverpool fans placed a banner in the city saying that it was 37 miles to the country's most successful club, aka the Reds. Yeah, it's a shithousery award, man, come on. And speaking of the Europa League final, its other finalist, Tottenham, well, they also lost 2-0. Yeah, both of these teams were losing to, like, mid-table sides. This is actually crazy. But let's not beat around the bush, okay? Tottenham were clearly throwing this game in a league they're already doing badly in so that they could put all of their efforts into throwing the Europa League final. This is the best that the Europa League has to offer. God protect this tournament, man. Meanwhile, Domino's knew what time it was upon both of them making it through their semis. Now, Southampton's defence offers about as much protection as an imaginary condom. And Phil Foden, I'm sure, knows all about that. Don't get it twisted. But I'm sure him and his Man City side would have been a lot more hopeful going into this game against bottom of the table. At the end of the day, the Saints have conceded 82 goals this season, yet they somehow managed to keep a clean sheet in a 0-0 draw against the Man City side that had Erling Haaland in it.
Good shit, but that's all it is.
It's no surprise Pep Guardiola was pouring water over himself. It was probably vodka, let's be honest. This result, of course, meant that Southampton could no longer mathematically be the worst team in Premier League history upon moving on to 12 points, and they tweeted directly at Derby County about having got their hopes up, of course, only to crush them. This is shameless. Their admin clearly delighted when Southampton were only the second worst team football history has ever seen. Unsurprisingly, this being a very disappointing result for Manchester City, it left their players pretty annoyed. Ruben Diaz, the saltiest of them all, suggesting that Southampton didn't actually try and play any football whatsoever. They just defended and did nothing. I'm gonna be honest with you, Ruben. Everyone else has managed to score against them, right? If it's so easy, then you do it, you assy. Oh, I'm Ruben Diaz and my girlfriend's Maya Jama. Shut up, man. Shame on Southampton for defending well against a £1 billion football club that has 115 financial charges hanging over it. The Saints at least did manage to get their own back, saying they got a draw without even trying to play any football over on Twitter, and with this TikTok as well.
I don't even know. I don't even feel like they want to play the game or win the game. They're just sitting around.
Yeah, it's a shithousery award for the Saints, but I'm not letting you forget that tweet to Derby. That's still very, very bad behaviour. Speaking of Man City, it's 2 L's for them this week as they unveiled their new home kit for next season. What the? We have to stop a Pep return, because if this kit wins the league, I'll top myself. I'm not even over-exaggerating. They put a seatbelt on it to protect them from the car crash that this season has been. We need to defund Puma. This is one of the worst Man City kits I've ever seen in my life. Newcastle faced off against Chelsea in an extremely important clash as far as Champions League qualification is concerned. The Blues would end up on the losing side here, 2-0, to give a massive boost to Newcastle. They even managed to unlock a new synchronised celebration between Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall. Meanwhile, there was great news for Nicholas Jackson. He got himself suspended, given this straight red card for an elbow, and that means that he doesn't have to play for these lot again all campaign. Chelsea actually managed to look better without him. Meanwhile, Nicholas was left to apologise to his wife after not bringing home an appearance bonus for the week.
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
The goals in this one came from Sandro Tonali, as well as a deflected effort from Bruno Guimaraes late on, and the Brazilian could be seen blowing a kiss directly at his South American rival Enzo Fernandez on the way back to their centre circle. Speaking of Europe, and Aston Villa booked their place into European competition for next season, and it's something that's got Unai Emery all excited.
Good afternoon. Europe.
You.
Meanwhile, much more serious stuff going on at Nottingham Forest, as after a collision between Taiwo Awoniyi and Buonanotte of Leicester in Forest's draw versus the Foxes, Taiwo was left with abdominal injuries and severe pain, but was left on the pitch, which seemed like a very weird decision at the time. Since then, he's been admitted to hospital and actually been put into an induced coma ahead of surgery. Now, obviously, this is absolutely wild. It's absolutely crazy. My thoughts are with him, hoping for a speedy recovery, and obviously his family and his friends and the rest of that Nottingham Forest team. It's very scary. You don't really hear those words being associated with footballing injuries. We don't really associate footballers with putting their lives on the line, but it really opens up a conversation about how he got this injury, as it was all because of a late offside flag, which has been a kind of a concern and a worry since this practice started amongst linesmen. I totally understand why they're giving the benefit of the doubt with VAR now. They can always go back and give a goal if something was wrongly flagged as offside, but ultimately, when you're allowing these players to just carry on going at full pelt after the fact, especially with ones that are very obviously offside, you are putting them in positions where they may end up getting injured for nothing, because if you put your flag up for an obvious offside, that passage of play wouldn't have happened and the player doesn't get injured. If that's the case here with Taiwo Awoniyi, we're not talking about a guy being in an induced coma, so I think there definitely does have to be a change to the guideline. I think there's got to be a little bit less leeway when it comes to these delayed offsides. If it's very, very close in a linesman's mind, then fine, but sometimes I'm seeing a done 4 yards off and they're still letting them play. It's stupid. We all know that it's offside. Just put your flag up and call it a day. Thankfully, Taiwo has now awoken from this induced coma after having a second stage of his operation. So yeah, wishing him the best and a speedy recovery. But in more incredible scenes at the end of this game, Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis ran onto the pitch, seemingly at first to remonstrate with manager Nuno Espirito Santo after this disappointing draw. I'll tell you now, Todd Bowley's got to do the same at Chelsea, because Enzo Maresca's getting away with that. In more important news though, why is brother holding an iPhone 6? This man owns a football club. He can't even download Snapchat. It's emotional. It turns out though, after releasing a statement, he was actually frustrated with the decision to keep Taiwo on the pitch, which to be fair, I do agree with in terms of the sentiment. Now over in Germany, and Bayern Munich were celebrating their Bundesliga crown, and it saw pictures of Harry Kane actually holding silverware. AI has gone way too far, fam. I'm not gonna lie. Another former Tottenham man was honoured here, as Eric Dyer was given his parting gifts before leaving the club. You're expecting me to take the piss here, but nah, actually this is genuinely so nice. Someone who's had difficult times during the course of his career, but I'm glad he's felt welcomed at a side, and he's actually won stuff too. Before the game, there was a new mascot as far as Bayern were concerned, a cockatoo that appeared on a little plinth before kickoff. It turns out he's actually from a restaurant called Kaifa. Somebody in the team stole him, but no one will own up to actually doing it. The police are going to be reviewing CCTV footage, seeing Joshua Kimmich leave the restaurant with a pigeon under his arm in the dead of night. Back to the celebrations though, and Thomas Muller managed to trap Michael Elise and get him absolutely drenched. A fate that would also befall Jamal Musiala with some perfectly timed pictures. Rest in peace, drowned in Kronenberg. It's not all good news though for Bayern fans. They actually held up banners in protest of some terrible designs and terrible shirts, in their opinions, that Bayern have been having over recent years, predominantly in terms of branding of their home kits. Manchester City need to do this for Puma. And this game, of course, was also an opportunity for Bayern fans to say goodbye at home to Thomas Muller. 750 games played for a man who came through their academy, 248 goals and 222 assists. A true legend of the club, a legend of the sport, really. And he took the opportunity in his goodbye speech to kickstart a comedy career. But not usually because of this. Hey, look, I see you guys over there with a banner for me. Could call you the Muller Corner. Am I right? Because obviously it's a section, a small area of that. And Bayern Munich manager Vincent Kompany had other reasons for celebration, as he witnessed his former side, Hamburg, finally secure promotion from the Bundesliga 2. The pitch invasion, dramatic for this one. Hamburg fans, obviously, it's a massive club that has won European competition, and it's been 7 years since they were in the top flight. There were unfortunately injuries during this one, so hopefully everyone makes a full and speedy recovery, and injuries to the stadium as well, including the dugout, the goalpost getting absolutely snapped in half, and the pitch looking like a total mess. But there was some wholesomeness for one supporter who could be found in the exact same place, using the exact same camera angle a decade apart. What are the chances of... I know obviously he's a season ticket holder, that's his seat, but the angle, the camera being in the same spot is absolutely perfect. Hamburg's players celebrated by pouring alcohol all over their manager Merlin Polson, and their club mascot celebrated by... impregnating oxygen. It's a hello to the Bundesliga for Hamburg, but it's a goodbye to the Bundesliga for Bayer Leverkusen manager Xabi Alonso, who held his final press conference as Leverkusen boss. Of course, a man who guided Leverkusen to an unprecedented Bundesliga win and an invincible season, and almost a treble as well. He'll be a legend there forever. You'll see a statue of him outside of the ground, and the Ultras wanted to take him in one final time at the end of their last game. I mean, pause actually on that sentence, to be honest. Over in Spain, massive performance from Atletico Madrid's Alexander Sorloth, who scored the quickest hat-trick in La Liga history in under 4 minutes. He'd go on to score a 4th goal in total and still only managed to get a 9.9 rating. What more has the kid got to do? Erling Haaland's not even the best Norwegian striker in the world anymore. Elsewhere at Atletico Madrid though, and for Antoine Griezmann, no. Cosplaying as a girl from year 4 is absolutely crazy. Now, in the time since I started making this video, Barcelona have been crowned La Liga champions with a 2-0 victory over Espanyol. We all knew it was coming, but a Yamal screamer helped Barcelona really achieve it, making for his 2nd La Liga title at just 17 years of age. This goal, by the way, Iron Robin special, it might have been him bathing him, you know, as a kid. Before the game, though, and there's some very serious scenes, as a car collided with supporters, ramming into a crowd, but thankfully not causing any serious injury. Espanyol fans decided to protest the game going ahead by not actually taking to their seats, but nothing would stop Barcelona here. They would celebrate at full time, which city rivals Espanyol would respond by putting the sprinklers on. As for Gerard Martin, he was signing autographs and getting lucky. We've got Gerard Martin signing tiddies, bro. The game's actually gone. At Real Betis, there's wholesome stuff going on for them as they prepare for a Conference League final. They announced they'd be hosting a big screen watch-along inside their stadium in Spain, with tickets only £2 and all the revenue going to charity. Not such wholesome scenes, though, at Sevilla, who after a 3-2 loss to Celta Vigo saw their ultras storm the training ground at night. To be fair, probably stick a few of them in the starting 11. They'll probably do a better job. In Italy, and there's confirmation that the new pope is in fact Claudio Ranieri. He actually has links to Roma, to be fair. His dad is actually a Roma fan. One fan saw the correlation and shouted Forza Roma at him in a car. At Atalanta, though, and against Roma, one pitch invader decided to have a standoff with goalkeeper Miles Villa as Atalanta secured themselves Champions League football. It didn't really end well. It did end a little bit better than this Sassuolo fan, who himself attempted to pitch invade, only to realise pretty swiftly the pitch is surrounded by a moat. I told you last week of how Pisa were promoted to Serie A with the help of manager Pippo Inzaghi. The celebrations around the city were absolutely incredible, including hanging a banner off the tower. It's a bit wonky though, isn't it, man? You might want to straighten that up a little bit. There's also great news for Bologna, who beat AC Milan in the Coppa Italia final to win their first piece of silverware in 51 years. A massive moment for them. Massive congratulations to their manager as well. He's lost 3 Coppa Italia finals going into this as well, so finally gets his hand on a trophy. Meanwhile, it's a disastrous season for AC Milan. Their fans will be left in a pit of depression by a team that basically nabbed their badge and then beaten them in a final. Bad news, though, in Serie B. Sampdoria are honestly one of the most historic clubs in Italian football, and incredibly, they find themselves getting relegated from the 2nd division all the way down to Serie C for the first time in their history. This is a side that won Serie A in 1991 and the Cup Winners' Cup in Europe all the way back in 1990. But financial turmoil, as well as 38 players being used, 5 different goalkeepers, 4 coaches, and awful recruitment means that they are in uncharted waters. Quite like this fan from Sassuolo. And a similar theme in France, but even more catastrophic. Nîmes Olympique were in Ligue 1 as recently as 6 years ago, yet after a string of relegations now find themselves being relegated to the 5th tier. I mean, it's a wonder how they'll even be able to survive, honestly, with that level of parachuting. I mean, not even parachuting, free falling through the divisions. The amount of revenue they're making now will be peanuts in comparison to 6 years ago. Now, though, it is time for your goals of the week, and these have got some range. Your first one, quite literally, as FC Tromsø find themselves a goal up against KFUM Oslo. With the Oslo goalkeeper out of his net, this Tromsø player decides to absolutely smash it from the halfway line, and this hasn't like bounced a couple of times. This has gone straight into the back of the net as if he hit it from 15 yards. But if you thought that was power, you know absolutely nothing, as Colombian Jimmy Valoyes, playing for Cienciano, has unleashed this absolute rocket in the Copa Sudamericana, in off the crossbar, foot like a traction engine. But finally, again, I throw this around every now and again when it comes to goals of the week, but we have got a Puskas contender. Take a bow, Santiago Gabriel Montiel, who plays in Argentina, and I mean, look, listen, I'll let the commentators do the rest, man. This is crazy.
Montiel! Cerra la cancha, nene!
Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty.
Special beyond special!
And that concludes the beautiful Gettin. Now, over in Portugal, we might have genuinely got the most ridiculous penalty I've ever seen. One Don's appealing for an offside, one's clearing the ball away. Add those two things together, you've got a spot kick for the opposition. I was just doing what the set piece coach told me to do. In Turkey, and Victor Osimhen Airlines is open and ready for business. I've never seen this brother control the ball on the ground. He's always got to have his hamstring at an obtuse angle. And he's always got to have about 11 mascots with him at the start of a match. Look, listen, I get it. He's easily the biggest name in Turkish football. But share them out with the others, man. What if one of them wants to meet Davinson Sanchez? They don't, let's be real. Meanwhile, at Fenerbahce, and things might be starting to fall apart for Jose Mourinho already. He's had his usual tantrums, he's had his usual dramatic moments. Now he's giving it back to the journalists. One asked him why he'd used 31 players during the course of this season and why he'd rotated the squad so much. His response was to say he goes out to nightclubs the night before matches in Istanbul and then tosses a coin to see who plays. 31 players, respect. Another Galatasaray striker though now is Mauro Icardi. He's announced that he's engaged to his new partner. As long as it's not Wandanara, man, I'm fed up with them too. The fact that it's been broken by Big Bang News seems pretty fitting, actually, for him. In the US, it's been a bad week for Lionel Messi. Inter Miami were absolutely battered by Minnesota United 4-1. Minnesota United perfectly capturing the type of fan that's now depressed after Lionel Messi and Inter Miami's defeat. And the rest of their supporters, well, they were leaving early. No better supporters? Well, they're all leaving, so maybe you could get better supporters. Meanwhile, Lionel could be seen beefing with a referee after some pretty poor decisions in the MLS, and I'm pretty sure this ref told him to fuck off. He's got Cristiano Ronaldo posters on his wall. Up in Scotland, Celtic brought out dogs instead of kids as mascots after everything that he did for Rangers. He's an old firm traitor. Meanwhile, at Pek Zwolle, and their admin was watching him score a penalty on a YouTube stream before jumping out of the room to see him just in time to celebrate in real life. Not a video that this goalkeeper elsewhere in the Netherlands is going to want to watch back though. He's taken down an attacker and got the ball, but then forgotten that there's 10 other opponents actually on the pitch that he needs to worry about. In Senegal now, and I'll be honest, beating the first man from a corner seems a little bit more difficult when there's a main road between you and the goal frame. Never before has the world of football seen a near post header from a Kia Picanto. Never before has the world seen a near post header from Lorenzo Insigne. The diminutive Italian though managed to break that mold by scoring using his head in the MLS. He's 5'4". If you're a defender and you've let Lorenzo Insigne score a header, you have to retire. I do not make the rules. In Ecuador, the world's best dressed manager Segundo Castillo is back again, this time with a leopard print suit. This guy is actually undefeatable. He's like the coolest uncle that you've ever seen in your life. Speaking of wavy things out on a football pitch though, this Corinthians player has managed to knock the ball directly onto the corner flag. I know for facts that he wanted to do a knee slide after achieving that, but he just wanted to keep it cool. Basel fans will be knee sliding across their carpet after Xherdan Shaqiri returned home to help them to a First League title since 2017, and he dragged them to a title. 41 goal contributions in 35 games, including a 9-minute hat-trick, whilst the rest of his Basel side were down to 10 men this week. He has done ridiculous numbers for them, and it's great to see Basel with such a beautiful kit, by the way, doing well once again in Switzerland. In Czechia now, and Sparta Prague's manager Lars Friis isn't quite as happy with refereeing decisions that are going on in the country.
It's fucking clear handball. That's my opinion. It's just not good enough, and it doesn't take anything away from the championship, which is well deserved from Slavia. But we are playing a game here. It's terrible. And the FA needs to wake up now.
But David Puskas, elsewhere in Czechia, isn't letting referees get in the way of his goal scoring. He came on as a substitute and managed to score just 16 seconds later, directly from a set piece.
Standardní situaci, které se chce nejen zúčastnit, ale třeba z ní také udeřit. A povedlo se! To je Andrej David Puskas!
Now though, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, it's been a little while, guys. I'm not gonna lie, since we took a little journey over to these lot. Perhaps the greatest and simultaneously the most calamitous football nation in the world. And in this clip sent to me multiple times over on TikTok, you can follow me over there, it's at the official FNG. I post pretty much daily, and you can send me clips as well. FCSB are facing off against CFR Cluj. So when the goalkeeper's out of position and a strike is heading towards goal, this FCSB defender decided that he needed to become the goalkeeper. Yeah, that's absolutely, like, despicable. I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with that one. Closer to home, there's been playoff drama in the EFL. First of all, between Sunderland and Coventry. A Dominic Ballard header in the 122nd minute, taking Sunderland through to a championship playoff final against Sheffield United for a place in the Premier League. The angle of this header, by the way, is ridiculous. If you put this on a GCSE paper, you'd get the answer wrong. In preparation for this game, Sunderland actually moved their ad boards closer to the pitch to stop Coventry being able to take long throws. Meanwhile, with this news, it's fair to say Sunderland fans will be excited. They've been a little little bit premature on their scouting shortlist, though, I'm not going to lie to you.
Sure, and then the final thing. Why am I looking at Ibrahimovic at the bottom of this list?
There was a pitch invasion after Sunderland's dramatic win here, where one Sunderland supporting fan tried to grab a selfie with Frank Lampard. It was duly rejected. But well done to Frank, honestly. He took charge of Coventry whilst they were 17th in the league. The run that he's been able to put together to even get them into the playoffs at all is admirable, and I'm sure we'll see more of them next season. Meanwhile, in a League One semi-final playoff between Stockport and Leyton Orient, this absolutely monumental offside was somehow not spotted by our linesman. This game was at Leyton Orient's ground. The guy's practically in Stockport. He's so far beyond the final, man. Meanwhile, at Charlton, we've got peak athletic performance. Back in Scotland, and this girl's managed to grab a double gill. At Benfica now, and Vangelis Pavlidis, the 26-year-old forward, has pulled off one of the most mental assists I've seen so far this season, completely carving Sporting's defence apart. We've got skill of a different kind elsewhere in South Africa. Yeah, you could only get this in this country, man. There's actually, like, no competent interest on scoring. It's just whether you can do Rabonas and that. In South America, and things are bright and bold in the crowd this time, when you need to put 6 AA batteries into your suit, just question whether you've gone a little bit too far. In Brazil, there's no interest in the safety of children. This parent throwing his child into the air after scoring. LA Galaxy are getting spanked so badly in the MLS this season, they've started speaking Japanese. Lymington were hoping to cross the Welsh border this week to play a local game. However, their goalkeeper forgot his passport, and so they had to hide him in the back of the bus when Border Patrol got onto the coach. And in Hong Kong, this forwards used the oldest trick in the book to win the ball back off an unsuspecting goalkeeper who places the ball down in front of him. That was an equalising goal in the 98th minute. They did all of that only to then concede to their opponents a minute later and lose the game in the 99th minute anyway. Meanwhile, there's no worry of that down at Farnham Town. There's 3 goals to the good against 10 men. They decided to play their own game during this one, passing a coin around mid-game to a teammate whilst they were playing, and whoever had the coin at the end of the match had to grab the drinks for everybody else at full time. That's when you know you're a little bit too good compared to who you're playing. Now though, it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football, and this time we have got potentially the most wholesome story that's ever featured in FTW, genuinely. We go down to the youth levels of amateur football for this one, where we find Harry Jolly, who's a 13-year-old kid, and 11 months ago, he was tragically diagnosed with leukemia. This, of course, a variant of cancer, which can be very aggressive, but thankfully, he made it through during a difficult 11-month period, came out the other side, and is now cancer-free. Harry clearly is a big fan of football. He plays at youth level and was finally able to make his return to the game that he enjoyed after such a long period on the sidelines. He would come on as a substitute and from a corner, unbelievably, would score with his first touch of the game to make it 4-3 late on. This is genuinely a remarkable story. One that I'm sure you couldn't even write realistically if you were a film director, and one that I hope gave Harry an unlimited amount of joy. On to the weird stuff though now. First of all, we head to Singapore, where Lion City Sailors are looking forward to playing Sharjah of the UAE in the AFC Cup final. This is an intercontinental competition, but they actually would be playing the game at home in Singapore. They want to play the game in the National Stadium, which is a 55,000 capacity ground, but unfortunately aren't able to due to the fact that there is a Lady Gaga concert happening in the stadium that they want to use. Yet the ground that they want to use for a cup final, a continental cup final, has been booked out already. Yeah, sorry about that, lads. Request a song though and she'll play it. It's all good, lads. Don't worry about it. And finally, we head over to the lower leagues of Botswana, because why wouldn't we? And look, there's been controversy in a game between Adonai FC and Palapai All-Stars. Adonai were protesting because they believed their opponents had fielded a player that wasn't eligible to start. Now, this happens occasionally, you know, there's some sort of documentation error, but in actuality, what's ended up happening here is the Botswana FA have come to their own decision, or the regional FA in charge of this area or district have come to the decision the team that are protesting here have in fact forged the documents and photoshopped them instead, accused them of making up the whole situation, and that the player didn't play at all. Photoshopping an ineligible player onto a starting 11 of an opponent is definitely a first for FTW. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.